Anything I want about the economic crisis? Well, the economic crisis is just the latest manifestation of a crisis that really started a long time ago and then was reversed by various types of activities from time to time. So the crisis starts in the early 70s. There's a breakdown in profitability. Nixon breaks with the gold standard. There's a beginning of an attack on the organized working class. It takes the form of the radical rise in the price of oil, all of a sudden, out of the blue. Where did that happen? Oh, blame the Arabs. No, not the Arabs. It's the oil companies and the banks. And they create a system to cycle petrodollars that we were sucked out of the working class from the north into the banks in the Arab world and back into the New York banks. And then they use that to make loans to put all these countries of the global south into debt peonage. So that system went for about a decade. It wasn't working. It was not restoring profitability. Starting in the early 80s, you have the full implementation of the neoliberal agenda under Reagan and Thatcher. And that meant radical privatization at home and radical screwing of the third world. And that the debt crisis, collapse of Mexico and other countries soon after that were all manifestations of that problem. And so the incredible immiseration and impoverishment of people throughout the global south that's happened since the 70s has not been properly told, but it's really dramatic. So you go from this 82 to about 97, where this neoliberal system of reorganizing capitalism on a global scale, we call it globalization, sort of glibly, and our own lives as people living in the north have become enormously precarious during this time. The idea that you have a job that you're going to keep for the rest of your life, that's a joke. Everybody knows that's over. Nobody lives in the same neighborhood for more than a couple of months or a couple of years, and then they're on to the next place, and they're looking for the job, or they're looking for a cheaper housing deal. And there's all this speculative stuff that went in with it. And so our ability to keep our standards of living up all this time depended on credit cards and the inflation of housing prices. And if it wasn't for this fake expansion of money, totally fake money, just like keep doubling and tripling and quadrupling the debt, which is not real money by anybody's standards, capitalist or otherwise, that allowed us to keep consuming and keep this whole crazy system going. In 97, the Asian crisis broke that down. And from 97 till now, we had three more bubbles, basically. You had the dot-com bubble, the stock market insanity, and everybody thought, oh, the internet, we're going to make millions on the internet, and then crash. And then you had the housing bubble. And now they're trying to think about maybe having an energy bubble, or an alternative energy bubble. It's the latest fantasy of some of these guys to try to restart the system based on debt. But everybody's so over-leveraged and has so much debt, it's like, I don't know the exact stats off the top of my head, but you have a global situation now where, well, countries like the United States have an outstanding debt, aggregate debt for the entire society, the corporations, the individuals, and the government, that's something like 35 times of the gross national product, which is already a crazy number that doesn't mean anything. But that's untenable. It cannot be solved. You certainly can't solve it by starting the accumulation of more debt, which is the only political and economic strategy they have right now, is to throw tons of money into this black hole and hope that lending will restart and borrowing will restart. And it's not going to happen. It's just impossible. So we're going into a major depression, a global depression like the likes of which nobody's ever seen. And within already there's, every month, thousands and thousands of people are being laid off. By the end of the year, there could be 5 to 10 million more people laid off just in the United States, not to mention the UK, which is teetering on the edge of an Iceland-style bankruptcy and collapse. And many other countries are on the same edge. So we don't know this. We don't have any experience of it. We don't really know what the full scope of it's going to be or how we're going to survive it. But you can be sure that our survival will not come because some guy who got elected does something nice. It's going to happen because you and me and everybody we know start talking to each other, start digging up the streets and planting gardens and for our food supplies, start taking seriously the need to reorganize our use of water and harvesting rainwater, using the aquifers below our feet, tapping all the different ways we can use gray water and wastewater, all the things that are just common sense that are really developed now under permacultural logic. People have been working on this stuff for 3 decades, and they've developed a whole system of how we could reinvent life on a very solid, cyclical, permacultural basis where we would live really well in harmony with sort of natural principles of how the ecology actually works instead of fighting against it all the time. So that's our hope. And to be able to do it is a lot of work. So we're not talking about the abolition of work overnight, for sure. But the goal should be to get to a point where we all work a lot less and let nature help us live well. And right now we have nature as the enemy, and we want to subdue it and extract from it and then throw it away as garbage into it. And it's completely madness. And everybody who thought about it for 20 minutes figures out that's madness, we should redesign. But because everybody has a vested interest in keeping the madness going, it's very hard to stop the system and do it. But for us, we're lucky in a certain weird way. The crisis is stopping the system. It's grinding to a halt. And so by the summer, we'll see empty shelves and food riots in many parts of the world. and it's going to get really dire. I'd be very surprised if it doesn't. But we live in the Bay Area, which is super wealthy, and this is weird experience of seeing this tidal wave coming at us, and it has not arrived. We still have a normal life. You go even in Belen and go around, everybody's shopping, buying things, everything's kind of normal. How long can that be? It's coming, and we don't know what to do about it. Except practical suggestions that I have are really not having anything to do with money or fixing the economy or solving the banking crisis. Let them go. The banks should be disappeared. It was never a good idea to have banks in the first place. Bad way to organize life. So the abolition of the banks, the abolition of debt, total debt jubilee, these are solutions. They're not just like fond fantasies. These are the way we go on to the next world. Wipe out the debt, wipe out the organization of the global economy as we know it, and start organizing ourselves from the bottom up. Then we might actually have a chance.